Hi everyone, I'm Nadia, and in today's video I'm making a beautiful set of peachy geode resin coasters. I'm first making sure that my silicone molds are clean, and I'm doing this by using tape, which easily picks up any small particles or fibers within the molds. Then I start to mix my part A and part B resin for 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm separating my resin into smaller cups to add in my pigments. The first pigment I'm going to be using is just Resin's pigment paste in the shade Titanium White, and always make sure to stir the pigment well in the container before you add some into your cup of resin. Next, I'm using this beautiful bronze shade of mica powder by Resin Pro. And you can find all of the product links or similar product links in the description. Next, I'm using this pink shade of mica powder, also by Resin Pro. And I'm starting by pouring my white pigmented resin around the edges of the mold. Followed by the bronze pigmented resin. Then I pour my pink pigmented resin right alongside the bronze pigmented resin. And I pour the clear resin into the center. And I repeat that same process in the rest of the molds. I'm pouring it into the molds one by one, but I find that it's easier to ration your pigments and your resin if you do them all at the same time. After pouring into my third mold, I ran out of clear resin, so I'm quickly mixing up some more. And that's why it's a good idea to always have extra clear resin, because if you're missing pigmented resin, you can always just mix in more pigments. And I'm going to fast forward this part so you can see how the pigmented resin is pulling towards the center. Once my clear resin is mixed well, I pour into my last mold. I use a torch gun to pop any air bubbles, and always be sure that you're moving it quickly so that you don't burn your resin or your molds. I had some leftover pink pigmented resin, and 2 of the molds weren't as full as the other 2, so I just circled around the mold several times. And now I'll be mixing in my center detail. I have a small cup with a small amount of resin, and I'm just adding some gold leaf flakes. Using a wooden stick, I add the gold leaf flakes into the very center of the molds. And I poured the leftover resin into bookmark molds. And here's a clip of me demolding the next day. As you might be able to tell, in the bottom left one, it appears that all of the pigment has shifted towards one side, and this could potentially be a problem with the mold. I know that my surface is level and my other coasters turned out fine, so it's more likely that it's a problem with the mold than with the surface. But it could also potentially be just how I poured the resin into the mold and the resin deciding to take on a mind of its own. I'm not very happy with how these turned out. I think the one on the top right side came out nicely, but for the others I'm not so sure. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and try to fix them. First, I'm using a thin edding marker to trace around the coasters. After I did that on all 4 coasters, I decided to add in some more gold leaf flakes, and I just wanted to see how that would look. So I took some Mod Podge onto a paintbrush and used a wooden stick to apply the gold leaf flakes in that area. And it looks okay to me, so to speed up this process a little bit, I put some Mod Podge into a small cup and then added the gold leaf flakes into that small cup as well. I mixed that together and I used the paintbrush to apply it along the line that I drew. Once that dried a little bit, I used the same edding marker and went around the coasters once more. And this time I added iridescent flakes into the small cup of Mod Podge, and again with the paintbrush, I applied it closer to the center of the coasters. And I used the edding marker one more time. I added a gold trim just on one coaster because I was very curious to see how it would look like when it was complete. To seal everything in, I added a top coat. I'll quickly go through this process, but if you're interested in a more detailed video, I'll leave the video linked above. And I'm also top coating these 2 other coasters at the same time. And this time with a thicker edding marker, I added a gold trim. And here's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Follow me on my Instagram, Summer Girl Designs, and my mom's Instagram, Wild Heart Resin Art.